Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about the different types of C clauses and the different sequences of tenses that you'll find in these different C clauses. They're kind of tough, so I'm going to try to break it down as simply as possible. You have three main categories of C clauses, okay? And in each category, there's a sequence of tenses that are acceptable. So the first verb listed in these sequences of tenses is the one that follows the word if, or the word that follows see. And then the second one is the verb that's in the result clause, or the event that's dependent on the first. In English, the result clause is often preceded by the word then, if then. So let's take a look at the three different categories. You have the first conditional, second conditional, and the third conditional. Not super important that you know the names of those. What's important is the different combinations that you'll find within each one. So basically, let's just look at one, and I'll tell you how to approach this. So in the first conditional, you have three different possibilities. You have if present tense, then present tense. If I go to work, I see my boss. Okay, so I've used if I go present tense, and then I see present tense. Okay, so the first one comes after the word if. The second one is the result clause. So you have if present tense, then present tense. And then the second one, you have if present tense, then future tense. So you could say, if I go to work, I will see my boss. Okay, so, and then the third possibility within the first conditional is if present tense, then command. Like you might say something like, if you go to work, talk to your boss. So if I go, present tense, and then command, talk to my boss. Okay, so you have those three possibilities under the first conditional, and we'll look at more at that here in a second. The second conditional is you have the imperfect subjunctive, and then the conditional. If imperfect subjunctive, then conditional. If I were rich, I would buy a house. Okay. If I were rich, I would buy a house. Okay. So that's the second possibility. And then the third possibility is impossible situations in the past, also known as the third conditional, where you're going to be using the pluperfect subjunctive. If I had done something, and then there's two ways it could go. If pluperfect subjunctive, then pluperfect subjunctive, or if pluperfect subjunctive, then conditional perfect. If I had seen the movie, I would have known the ending. Okay, so if I had seen the movie, I would have known the ending. So that's what you have basically. So the way to approach this is that you need to memorize these different possibilities. There's 6 of them. You know, present goes with present, present, future, present, command, etc. Memorize those possibilities. So when on the test you see the sentence with one of the verbs removed, you'll know what the possibilities are for your answer. Okay, so but let's back up and look at each one real quick. Remember, the first conditional has 3 possible situations. You have if present tense, then present tense. For example, if it rains, we don't work. Or you could flip it. We don't work if it rains. But in both cases, we're using present tense twice. Here's another example. If I don't want to read, I watch TV. Si no quiero leer, yo miro la televisión. So we're using present tense here with querer and present tense here with mirar. And if I were to flip that, I could say, miro la televisión si no quiero leer. So both examples, we use the present tense twice. Okay, so you can do if present, then present. The next possibility is if present, then future tense. Okay, example being, if I have time, I will do it. So I've used the present here and then the future here. Si tengo tiempo, yo lo haré. I could flip that and I would say, I will do it if I have time. Yo lo haré si tengo tiempo. But remember, present tense comes after the word if. Okay, so whenever you use the future, use the present tense after the word if. Here's another example. If you study, you will be smart. Okay. Si estudias, serás inteligente. Or you could flip it and say, serás inteligente si estudias. Notice how I've used the present tense after the word if, and the future tense is in the result clause. Okay. And so that's the second possibility. The third possibility, if present, then imperative. An imperative is a way to say command. So if present, then command. If you can, call tomorrow. So I've used present tense, if you can. Si puedes, llama mañana. Now here's a to command. Okay, remember it's the he, she form. I can flip that and say, llama mañana si puedes. So after the word if, you're using present tense, and then the result clause will have the command. Here's another example. If you have money, pay the bill. Si tiene dinero, present tense, pague la cuenta. Now this is an usted command. So that's the third possibility, if present tense, then future. Let's look at the next one here. The second conditional, you've already tested on this type of C clause. You're using the imperfect subjunctive with the conditional. Okay? If I had money, I would go with you. So, si tuviera dinero, iría contigo. So after the word if, we're using the imperfect subjunctive. And then the other one has to be conditional. You've already done this. You know this. Let's look at another example. If you went with us, you could see your brother. Si fueras con nosotros, podrías ver a tu hermano. Here I've used the imperfect subjunctive. If you went, and then here I've used the conditional. Okay, so that should be nothing new to you. Let's look at the third conditional here. And this is kind of weird. So as an English speaker, it doesn't really jive coming from an English speaker perspective, but let's just jump in and see what we can use here. So we're going to be using the pluperfect subjunctive and the conditional perfect. Let's look at some examples here. If I had known, I would have gone with you. This is the practice that you did yesterday. Okay, so this is the practice you did yesterday. You're using pluperfect subjunctive and the conditional perfect. If I had known, I would have gone with you. Now, native speakers are going to use the pluperfect subjunctive twice, which this is the part that doesn't really make sense as an English speaker. So if you look at the example, it says, si hubiera sabido, if I had known, hubiera ido. I would have gone with you. Okay, so right here, hubiera ido means had gone. If I had known, I had gone. See, that's what doesn't really make sense from an English speaker's perspective. Now, what does make sense if you use the conditional perfect here. If I had gone, I would have gone. Or if I had known, I would have gone with you. So we're saying, si hubiera sabido, if I had known, I would have gone with you. Habría ido. Okay, so that's the one I like to use because as an English speaker, it makes sense to me. But you will see native speakers use the pluperfect subjunctive in both clauses here. Let's look at another example. Would you have bought the book if I had told you? Hubieras comprado el libro. Habrías comprado el libro si te hubiera dicho. Would you have bought the book if I had told you? Si te hubiera dicho. Okay, so basically, you're using the pluperfect subjunctive and the conditional perfect in this this last sequence of tenses. Once again, native speakers are probably going to be using the pluperfect subjunctive in both clauses. But either one's acceptable. It's just a matter of preference as to which one you want to use. So let's recap here. You have 6 possibilities. You have if present, then present tense. If present, then future. And then if present, then command. And then the other possibility, the third one is if imperfect subjunctive, then conditional. And then the last one is if pluperfect subjunctive, then conditional perfect. So let's take a look at the practice for today, and I'll show you how I approach this. All right, so when I go through these translations, I look at the verb tenses in the sentence, and I try to think what tense is that, and I basically just translate. So if I were rich, I would buy a house. First thing that stands out to me is I would buy. Okay, so that's conditional. So if I go back and look at my notes, which one uses conditional? Well, let's go back up here and look. We have present, future, present, and command. No. Imperfect subjunctive and conditional. It's that one. Okay, it's the second one. So if we go back and look, I know that I'm using the imperfect subjunctive and the conditional. So Here's my conditional because it's would buy, so I know this one has to be imperfect subjunctive. So let's start off and translate. See, if I were rich, imperfect subjunctive, that's going to come from ser. Remember, I use the third person plural preterite as a basis, so that's fueron. I drop the ron, and then I add ra, ras, ra, ramos, ran. Si yo fuera rico. So if I were rich, I would buy a house. Remember, with conditional tense, I type out the infinitive, comprar, and then I add ia, ies, ia, íamos, ian. So, compraría una casa. And that's how I do that. Let's do one more. If you're tired, tell me a story. Or if you're not tired, tell me a story. So what do I have here? If you're not tired, what tense is that? And then tell me a story. Ooh, that's a command. Tell me is a command. So which one uses a command? I go back and look at my notes. Oh, it's this one here. Present tense and command. So when I use a command, I know the other one has to be present tense. So this is the command in the second clause here. So if you're not tired. Si, this has to be present tense. Si no estás cansada, I'll make it a girl here. Si no estás cansada, here's my command. Tell me a story. I'm going to use a to command. Dime. Remember? Venten ponsal hace dive. Dime un cuento. So I gave you two examples. I hope that's helpful. If you have questions with the C clauses and the sequence of tenses, please contact me, and I'll catch you again later. Adios, chicos.